you doing, everybody? And welcome to Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. It is Wednesday, a fantastic Wednesday, and I got the guy back today. He's going to tell you all about this day because it's a fantastic day. I got Austin back with me today. It's been a while, Austin, but hey, how we doing on this Wednesday? It's a good-ish. I mean, it snowed last night again. Not fantastic, but it's a good day in the great state of Wisconsin here.
Yeah, I figured I'd pop out on this hump day, I mean, I basically invented the holiday, so I figured I'd come on this Wednesday. And like you were talking about the weather, not the best, especially down here in La Crosse, slippery. Let me tell you, it's been raining, it's been sleeting, and my little car that I got down here does not fare well in the weather that we got going down here, but survive. We talk about the NCAA tournament, survive in advance. I'm surviving in advance, all right? So overall, not terrible. I'm doing good here on this Wednesday, and I'm glad to be back here.
We're happy to have you back. And hey, we got big news coming out of La Crosse. Haven't talked about it much on the show yet here, but I believe you were there when Nolan Hurdle did win that Division III title, right? You were I believe you were working that match there.
I was working.
Tell me a little bit about that.
I mean, first off, we had him on, or you talked to him. I wasn't there, but what an amazing guy. First off, super humble, out of Marshfield, Wisconsin. It was quite electric. I've never been in that type of, I guess you can call place before, where it's just you're up against your own. Like, it's by yourself. That's what wrestling is. Like, yeah, you place for the team, but you're up against yourself and your opponent. And he was going to go undefeated to win another back-to-back national champion, or to be a back-to-back national champion, and he ended up doing it, which I think is absolutely crazy. I don't think he lost a single match all year. I think he was undefeated and became back-to-back national champions. Sadly, La Crosse, they did not win the team national championship, but they took third. But overall, I feel like I'm glad that he's part of La Crosse because he really brings some light to us. I mean, La Crosse has a lot of good sports, but he's been grinding. He's been grinding since you talked to him last, and it's good to see that it showed for him out there on the mat there. It was pretty cool to watch, especially hosting it in La Crosse. He was able to win at home.
100%. I told him during that interview, I said, hey, when you win, you got to come back on the show. And I think I'm going to have to get back on him. We're going to have to get him back on the show here and talk about that title because I saw some video from it. It was fantastic. And like you said, I mean, this guy coming from Marshfield, I believe he won a match earlier this year. He was wrestling up a division. And I believe he got a win there too. So it's been an all-around impressive season there out of Nolan Hurdle. So just wanted to say congratulations to him there. Back-to-back D3 champ there at UWL, and big things to come. I can only imagine big things to come out of him in this crazy wrestling world that is nowadays.
And surprisingly, there was another guy from Marshfield that won a Division III title. I forget his name. Bentley Schwanebeck-Osterman out of Marshfield. He also wrestles at Augsburg, but he's also out of Marshfield. He won an individual title in La Crosse as well. So 2 guys from Marshfield, Wisconsin, winning national individual titles in Division III. I think that's pretty cool for Central Wisconsin there.
Putting Marshfield wrestling on the map. I mean, that's what they're doing. 2 products coming out of Marshfield. Yeah, I mean, like you said earlier, it is, at the end of the day, it almost seems like an individual sport, but the guys from Marshfield that built those 2 up along the way, even more wrestlers have come out of Marshfield, not just those 2. But even more guys have come out of Marshfield. But just to see some of those guys coming from, it's not a small town in Marshfield, but it's not huge, right? And to see some of these guys advancing and getting up to the biggest level there and bringing home some hardware, that is all around impressive. And also Stephen Buchanan, had him on the show. He did place third at Nationals there in D1 for Oklahoma. Sadly, I believe he lost to a Penn State guy. There early on there and did wrestle his way back. Yeah, you get against those Penn State guys, the Iowa
Yeah.
guys, it's tough. I mean, those guys are top ranked in the country for a reason. They are very good. And I mean, this guy, same with Nolan. He's worked his tail off. He's built himself back. He transferred recently to Oklahoma. So his first year wrestling at Oklahoma. And I mean, he had a very impressive record too. So fantastic all the way around. Some of our former interviews bringing home the hardware, right? And it was impressive to see how Steven wrestled his way back to get that third place finish. So jumping out of the wrestling scene there, we got a lot to get into today. I got a lot I want to get into with Austin today here. First, Brewers. I want to talk about the Brewers a little bit today. Wanted to just get our projected lineups here. We have no idea. This might never happen, right? But we want to give our projected lineups. Then we got a little bit of over-unders, right? We want to give our over-unders, our betting lines for the season here. So looking at our projected lineups, I'll go through mine first. Then I want to hear yours, Austin, and we'll see kind of where we compare there. So in my leadoff spot, I really wanted Mitchell to be in there. Now he's got that fractured hand. No more Garrett Mitchell. I got Sal Frelick in there. I think Frelick now will play center field. I thought it was going to be Churro. I've heard in some articles and everything like that they aren't overly impressed with Churro's defense. So I think Frelick does get the nod there in center field. My second spot, I got William Contreras. Contreras, he's a power hitter, but he's not, right? He hits the gaps hard, and I think this is a guy you want in that two-hole. Christian Yelich, I think he stays in the top half of the lineup. I think he moves down to third. I think he'll be at that third spot in the order there. The guy started to produce again last year. Hopefully it continues into this year, and hopefully we see more out of Christian Yelich in this season. In my four spot, I got Rhys Hoskins. You brought in the thump. He's got to be in your cleanup spot. I think Pat Murphy's going to go with that. I don't think he's going to give us the crazy Craig Counsell lineups where we got Sal Frelick batting cleanup. I think we will see Rhys Hoskins in there. In my five spot, I think Willie Adames will fill in that five spot. He's got some pop left, right? We saw it in spring there. He had a big 3 home run day in spring, so I think Willie Adames will be in that five spot. My DH right now, it's going to depend on the day, right? But I think Gary Sanchez is going to fit into that DH role. He brings the power. The guy gets on base. He's an all-around pretty good hitter, and I think Gary Sanchez, with that pop, will find himself into the lineup as a DH in that sixth spot. My seventh spot, I have Jackson Churro. I believe he's going to get a start. He's going to be in the starting role, and I think he'll be out in right field for the Brewers. I really think that's if he does not start in center. I could see them working Frelick and Churro around. One will play center, the other one's going to play right. But I think Churro, in my lineup, he's playing right field, batting seventh. In my eighth spot, I got Bryce Turang playing second base. I really do think Bryce Turang will bat eighth. I mean, we know he's going to start. It's just a matter of where you're going to hit him. I think the eighth spot's fantastic for him. And in my nine spot, with Mitchell, I was going to have Frelick there at third base, but now no Mitchell here. So Frelick's going to be out of the outfield. I think that Joey Ortiz, the young, not prospect anymore. He had some time with the Orioles. Just got him for the Orioles. I think he will take over at third base there for a majority of the time if he does hit at the big league level. Otherwise, I could see guys like Andrew Monasterio getting in there at the third base spot. So that's where I'm at right now with my starting nine right there. Austin, any thoughts on your projected lineup? If it's close to mine, I'm good with that. Otherwise, if you have guys that you would switch around, what would you do with this Brewers starting lineup here?
Yeah, mine's pretty close there. I like the idea of Mysterio being in there. I thought he was actually pretty good for last year, kind of just coming out of nowhere. Had no idea who the guy was, and next thing you know, this guy is doing pretty decent in the major league. So honestly, I would not be surprised if he got the nod to start there. But kind of similar to you, kind of sucks Garrett Mitchell, another injury there. He has so much potential, and we've seen that so many times, but he's just getting set back by so many injuries. It's tough
like
to see.
Christian Watson, isn't it? It's like
Yeah,
Christian Watson with the Packers.
Almost similar,
like the same guy.
And so I think, like you were saying, Sal Frelick probably, especially with how well he was hitting when he kind of got into the major leagues at the end of last year, I think he's a really good leadoff hitter there. Possibly William Contreras in the two, following him there as well. Christian Yelich, kind of similar as you there. Rhys Hoskins, maybe Gary Sanchez gets in there in the 5 after the cleanup hitter there. Jackson Chourio, kind of like you were saying, struggling a little bit as they said. So don't know if he's probably going to be up there, but definitely I think he's going to be starting. What happened to the one other guy, the rookie from last year? Forget his name.
Joey Weimer.
Yeah, what happened to that guy? Where's he at?
He got an option to AAA. He's down in AAA
Wow.
right now. Well, technically not yet, but he's starting the year at AAA.
So we probably won't be seeing him at all. So I got Jackson Churio. Yeah, probably not. Jackson Churio, my 6. Willie Adames, he's a good shortstop, but I feel like he's been slowly declining, especially at the plate there. So he's towards the end. And then Bryce Turang and Mysterio, you could probably switch him at the end there. It doesn't really matter which one goes. Bryce Turang, hopefully he does a lot better this year at the plate. But that's just something we're going to have to see. Overall, though, pretty similar to your starting lineup there, batting lineup.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see because we saw a lot of crazy lineups out of Craig Counsell. I think it's going to be interesting to see how Pat Murphy in his first season, what he kind of shakes out for a lineup. If he goes with a traditional look or if we get some wild lineups like Sal Frelick in the cleanup spot or Jackson Churro in the cleanup spot like we would have saw possibly with a guy like Craig Counsell. So I think it's going to be interesting, but I agree. I mean, we're kind of in the same boat there where we're looking right now with the projected lineup. And it's going to be interesting to see that third base spot. I think is still up for grabs with the Brewers, whether it's Joey Ortiz, Andrew Monasterio, or, they have rookies coming through the minor league ranks right now. So potentially at some point seeing one of those guys make their way up there. So with that though, we got to get to the over-unders, right? I want to get to some over-unders today here. We're going to go first, Christian Yelich home runs on the season, okay? Over under 15. Do we believe he's going to hit over 15 or under 15? I'm going to give him the over. I just feel like 15 is a low number. Even if he's not crazy with the pop numbers, I'm still going to give him over 15. What do you think there with Christian Yelich?
Yeah, I think over also because, well, now you look, Garrett Mitchell is out. Weimer's not doing too hot, so basically Yelich has to play now. And we thought we had all these outfielders, but now he's going to have to play. So I definitely think he's going to get over 15 home runs there.
Over 15 there. We got Sal Frelick over under 15 stolen bases. Last season, I believe we just went over before. He had like 7. He had 7 in his, not a full season there at the big league level. I'm going to go with, he's got speed. He's got the skill to get on base. I'm going to give him the over. I'm going to give him over 15 stolen bases on the year.
I'm going to give him over as well because, like you were just saying, he kind of came in a little bit halfway through the season there, and he got 7. But you also look at the new base stealing rules.
Yeah.
So making it a lot easier for base runners, Trage. So I think he's definitely probably going to get it over 15 there.
Over 15. I like it there. Brewer win total. Now, we've seen a lot of projections, usually around the 75 to 77 range on the win total on the year. We went with a little modest number, right? We went 76. Over under 76. I'm going to say over. I just believe they'll be over 76 wins. Whether that 76 wins is good or not in the NL Central, I don't know. They might just get 77. But I believe this team will be over a 76 win team on the year. What do you think? Over under 76?
I feel like it's so easy just to say over just because of how used we are to winning with Craig Counsell before. And I still think I'm still going to go over, but this might actually be, I mean, even though it doesn't look like our team is really a rebuilding, I don't know how well our new manager is going to be. So I'm going to still go with over, but the question, are we going to make the playoffs? I don't know. I don't know about that one. I'm glad that one's not something we're talking about because that one might be a little bit more tough to talk.
I agree with that. I mean, it's tough. The win total. I mean, if I said over under 78, I think that might change our minds. That might like flip it back a little bit, right? Only moving
77. That's what they're getting.
That's the cutoff. 77 is the cutoff. But I mean, yeah, there's a lot of question marks starting rotation for the Brewers. I mean, guys staying healthy. You don't know. I mean, you don't know if guys are going to stay healthy throughout the year. it's just a lot of intangibles right now that the Brewers are out of the control of. But it's just, I don't know if they got the pieces right now to really make a run like we're used to, especially the lack of starting pitching. So with that, though, I'm going to go total home runs for this team. Now, last year they were about 176. They were in that range. You had to think the leader in the league was the Braves with 307. I'm going to go over under 200. I'm going to take the over. I think I'm going to take the over. You have Contreras, you have Hoskins, you have Sanchez now, and I believe the rest of these guys will scrape across a few home runs. Willie Adames, he's home run or bust, right, at this point. So Willie, if he's not going to hit, he's going to give you 20-plus home runs, I believe, yet. So you have Adames, Hoskins, Yelich, we're saying over 15, Contreras, Sanchez, and whoever else fills pieces in there, right? You're going to have guys filling in here and there. If Garrett Mitchell, when he comes back, Garrett Mitchell can hit the long ball. So we know Mitchell can. Joey Wiemer's a home run hitter if he gets called up at some point this year. I'm going to give them the over 200. I think they will get over 200 just because last year they had a down year home run wise, and yet they still hit 176. So I'm going to give them the over on 200.
Yeah, I feel like this one's actually pretty close. I think we have more home run hitters for sure. Like last year, we didn't even have a first baseman, and now we got Rhys Hoskins. Rhys Hoskins also didn't play at all last year, so I don't really know what we're going to be getting out of him. And what I've seen on Instagram and other things, he's been hitting the ball pretty well. I know he had a grand slam or something, so that one's pretty exciting. Gary Sanchez, has Gary Sanchez even been playing in spring training, or has he just been chilling in
a little bit?
He's
played a little bit here as of late. He had a wrist injury. He worked his way back, and now it's hit or miss. But, spring training's done now, so.
True. This one might be tough for me, Trage, but I might take the under. I might take the under on this one. And you look at it, there's still some younger guys there, especially, Wilson Contreras or William Contreras is going to hit a home run. Rhys Hoskins, he definitely has potential. Gary Sanchez, we've seen him when he was in New York Yankees. He's been able to hit home runs, but it's the younger guys. Are they going to be able to pull their weight as well, hitting home runs, or are they just known as getting on base? I mean, we've seen Sal Frelick hit home runs. We've seen Bryce Turang hit home runs last year, but Bryce Turang really struggled. And Mr. Monasterio, he barely played. I mean, he played a lot, but he barely hit a home run. It seemed like he was good at hitting doubles. I'll tell you that much. He was good at hitting like extra base hits, but I just didn't really see him hit a whole lot of home runs. So I'm going to take the under on 200.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I can see it both ways, honestly. I'm taking the optimistic look, right? You got to take you got to take that optimistic.
You take the optimistic, I take the realistic, so.
Wow, that's fair. Somebody's got it, right? Somebody's got it there. So we got here's one for you. Willie Adames batting average. We gave him a modest one here. Over under 240. Willie Adames over under 240. I've answered first every time now, Austin. I got to hear from you. Over under 240 for Willie Adames.
I don't know what he was hitting last year, but I don't think it was that good.
Let me see once.
I still might take the under on this one.
Willie Adames last season, it wasn't high. I can tell you that much.
Yeah,
it wasn't high
I know
whatsoever.
He had a very sluggish year.
217.
Yeah, I think he's probably going to do the same, if not maybe a little bit better. But I don't think he's going to get to 240. I might take the under on this one.
I don't dislike Willie Adames, so I really want to take.
He's a good team guy.
I know. That's the worst part.
If there was over under how many friends he had on the team, I'd take the over. But we're talking about batting average here. We're talking about hitting the baseball.
Let's take the under, but I'm going to go just under. Just under. I'm not going to go too far under. I'm going to go, 239. 239 and a half right there. I think he's going to sit at. I'll leave him right there. So, last one. Series wins against NL Central rivals. So we're going to go with, will they win the season series against the Reds, Pirates, Cardinals, and Cubs? First off, Austin, I'm going to give you a toughie. That's the Pirates. They do stink, but the Brewers always struggle against the Pirates.
And the Pirates were pretty decent last year, if I recall. I mean, they were kind of middle of the pack there. Could beat you sometimes if you weren't trying really hard, I think we'll still beat them. overall in the season series, but don't be surprised if we drop a couple against them because I know they're a pretty good team. Like they kind of just hang around there. You sometimes you forget about them. Next thing you know, you're losing series against them, and it's like this is a team that we should not be losing against. So I think we're still going to win the series, like season series, but I won't be surprised if the Pirates make a little magic against us.
I agree. Last season, they hung out at the top of the Central for the longest time, and then it was like end of the year was just a tank for them. They just fell off the cliff then. So, I mean, yeah, they always struggle with the Pirates. I'm going to take they will win the season series against the Pirates, but it will be close. I don't think it's going to be any wide margin. I think they're going to hang around. So, we got the Cardinals next. I'm going to take no. I don't think they'll win the season series against the Cardinals. Last season, Cardinals were stinkers, right? They sucked. But this season, I mean, they got some pitchers back. I think the Cardinals will be back. If the Brewers, if they don't lose it, I think they'll tie. I think it'll be close to a tie in the season series. But I think that it's going to be a tough matchup for the Brewers against Cardinals all the time.
And I'm also there with you. They were last year. Cardinals were 71-91, but that was probably the worst year that they've had in like the longest time I can think of. So, pretty sure the Brewers did do good against them in their season series, but I think the Cardinals are going to be back this year. So I think the Cardinals might beat us out in the season series.
Brewers, Cubs, season series. I think the Brewers win the season series against the Cubs. I'm going to be honest. I think Pat Murphy outduels Craig Counsell, and I think the Brewers win the season series against the Cubbies.
This one might come down to pitching, Trage. Who has better pitchers? It's a great question because all I know on our team is we got Freddie Peralta and DL Hall and a broken Brandon Woodruff. So I don't really know what we're working with, but I think we still pull it off here. I feel like it's something personal for the Brewers. You know, like I saw we beat the crap out of them in one of our last spring games, and if we could do that a whole lot of times, that'd be wonderful. It'd make me happy. I know it'd make you happy, Trage.
Oh yeah,
and it'd make Pat Murphy happy. So I think we might. This one's gonna be close because the Cubs are just always good for some reason. They're always up there, even though they lose people, and then they just get Cody Bellinger. So I don't really know, but I think the Brewers are going to pull it off and win this season series.
There we go. There we go. So last but not least, we have the Cincinnati Reds. Reds are on the rise. They got some young talent. They're getting a little bit better. I do think the Brewers win the season series against the Reds. Every year it seems like the Reds find a way to stink it all away, and I think they will once again. I'm going to give the Brewers the edge, but like I said with the Cardinals, I think it's going to be close. If it's not 500, the Brewers will just win this season series against the Reds.
Yeah, Reds are middle of the pack last year. They were 82-80, so about as mid as you can get as a team, but still really dangerous. They got some fresh young guys down there in Cincinnati. Like you were saying, probably going to be close in the season splits here. I don't know, Trage. I don't know if we're going to win that season series. They're pretty.
I
good.
can see it going both ways.
I can see it going both ways, but I feel like the Brewers just always collapse for some reason. Just even if it's a little bit, they just always collapse against not the best teams, and this might be the one where we don't really get the best playing against the Reds here. So I might take the Reds over the Brewers. It'll probably be close, but I'm going to take the Reds.
I agree. 100%. I agree. I mean, it's going to be close one way or another there. I think the NL Central is going to be close as a whole. So I think a lot of our predictions there could go one way, could go another way. I mean, completely honest. The Brewers might surprise us as they do lots of times and just start ringing off wins, right? So we have no idea. But, hey, we got to get out of the Brewers here. We're running long, right? I got to get to a couple of our sponsors here quick before we move on. First, Game Day Supply in Onalaska. Do you have a sports club or team? Are you looking for some sweet custom uniforms or apparel? Check out the awesome crew at Game Day Supply in Onalaska to help your team get the sweetest gear. Find them on Facebook at Game Day Supply or online at GameDaySupply.net. Also, Pittsville Farm and Home Center. At the store, they serve you anything from hydraulic hoses to red roses. Stop in and see the awesome crew at Pittsville Farm and Home Center in Pittsville, Wisconsin. And also Marshfield Motor Speedways, located just 3 miles outside of Marshfield there on County Road H. You got to get down there this summer. Tons of summer fun. Days, nights, whatever it is, get down there. Check out the schedule on Facebook, on their website. Just search Marshfield Motor Speedways there. So I know the snow's here now. It doesn't seem like we're going to get on the track anytime soon, but hey, it's going to be gone and we're going to be out there and it's going to be exciting. So get down to Marshfield Motor Speedways there, just outside Marshfield, Wisconsin. But with that, we saw the Wisconsin women's basketball team. They got the win over Southern Indiana Screaming Eagles. That is a fantastic name. I have never heard a better name. There's probably better names out there for college teams, but we saw them get the win against Southern Indiana Screaming Eagles. And they did it in impressive comeback fashion. This Badger team was down big. They were down 44-25 at the half, and they ended up winning this game 67-62. They actually held Southern Indiana to 7 points in that fourth quarter there, scored 25 themselves to rattle off this victory, and it was all around impressive. Looking at some of the stats there, Williams for the Badgers had 24, Porter had 19, and then we saw 12 out of Copeland in that game. So Badgers come up big. I mean, a lot of people look at the WNIT and they say, who cares, right? Who cares? And I get it. It's not the big dance, right? It's nothing like that. But this is a Badger team who is 13-16 going into this game against Southern Indiana. This is a Badger program that's been struggling for years. I really do think wins like this for a team like that is a build for the future, right? And I think it's good. I really do think it's good for a team like Wisconsin who has struggled to get extra playing time here. So they will face off Thursday night. That'll be at the Kohl Center. They'll be taking on Illinois State. The Redbirds there out of Illinois State. That should be a fantastic game there. We did see Illinois State win their first game. I don't know who that... Charleston. They beat Charleston there to advance to play the Badgers. And the Badgers, like I said, before that Southern Indiana game, they were struggling. 4 straight losses there leading up into that one. But bounce back was huge for the Badgers there. They moved to 14-16 on the year, so can't wait. That game will be on ESPN Plus for that game in the WNIT tournament. Not anything major, right? Not getting big radio waves, but they will be on ESPN Plus if you have ESPN Plus there. So getting out of that, Austin, we got to talk about the Badgers here. But first, I'm going to mention a couple more of our sponsors quick. Then we're going to get into the Badgers because I want to just keep talking about the Badgers, get your takes and everything like that. So first, we got your hometown team, Century 21 Gold Key Realty. Call Peggy, Sawyer, Anna to find your dream home or if you're looking to sell. Find them on Facebook at your hometown team, Century 21 Gold Key Realty, or stop in and see them at their location in Marshfield. Also, Sports Scene, sports cards, and memorabilia. Stop in there in the Marshfield Mall and see Al. He has everything you need, from sporting cards to memorabilia, jerseys, everything you need down there in the Marshfield Mall. So get down there, see Al, and see the great selection they have down there. And also Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood. We just got a major storm come through. We have snow, we got ice, we got it all out there. Maybe you were injured, right? You got yourself injured. You were shoveling snow. You fell on the ice. You were driving your car like Austin's little car, and you just got into a fender bender, and something's hurting on your body. You need some physical therapy. Strange. Stop in there and see Chad. It happens. Stop in there at Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood. See Chad. He'll get you right. He'll get you back out on the road, back to shoveling snow, whatever it is. He'll get you back there. Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood, Wisconsin. But Austin, I've been talking about it the past couple days. We saw the Badgers lose to James Madison in a game that was completely ugly. Badgers were never really in that game. Then we get the aftermath of it, right? We get this aftermath now. We saw Connor Essegian enter the transfer portal. Luke Hurdle also entered the transfer portal. Not as big of a loss, right? We didn't see much out of Luke Hurdle, but another guy. And then now we see AJ Storr is going to test the NBA waters now. My biggest question is, what's next? We've now seen if he's not the best shooter on the Badgers team, he was right there with them, right? Connor Essegian is one of the best shooters on this Badgers team from this previous year. Maybe he had a down year, but lack of playing time will do that to a guy. Lack of confidence. Did Greg Gard have the confidence in Essegian? Was he instilling that in his guy? I don't know. So now Connor Essegian's out the door. I did see rumblings now. There's mutual interest between Connor Essegian and Michigan. Dusty May from Florida Atlantic. We all love Florida Atlantic, right? He's going up to Michigan now to be the head coach. Connor Essegian's in talks. That's fantastic. AJ Storr, he's now testing the NBA waters. I mean, I don't think anybody else is leaving. But at this point, I don't know, right? I don't know. Last time we had heard, Connor Essegian made it seem like he was coming back to Madison for his would-be junior year. Now he's leaving, right? AJ Storr, he's still up in the air. We don't know if AJ Storr is going to the NBA. We don't know if AJ Storr is coming back to Madison, or we don't know if he's possibly going to enter his name back into the transfer portal and try to go somewhere else. We don't know any of it because he has been very non-descriptive of what's going on. After the game, they asked him. He said he didn't know. He didn't say anything, right? And that kind of set off the alarm whistles for me. I mean, I look at AJ Storr. He's a great player. He's very athletic. The guy can create shots, but he can't hit shots, right? He's not a good finisher. He's not a good finisher around the rim. He's not a great shooter, right? When you think of guys who can create shots and hit shots, right? You think of Steph Curry. You think of guys like that at the NBA level. You go back to college. You think of guys like RJ Davis, right? That guy can create shots. He can hit shots out of North Carolina there. You have even guys like Marcus Sears with Alabama. You have great guys who can create shots and hit shots. For me, AJ Storr does not have that ability yet. And I don't think the NBA is if he makes it, if somebody drafts him, all hats off to him, right? That's fantastic. I'm never going to say that that's not the right thing for him. But what I'm saying is that this guy, I get that feeling that he's following. I said it when Johnny Davis left. I thought Johnny Davis was still missing a little bit, but he capitalized on a good year, right? He had to take off after a good year. I don't even know if AJ Storr had that. He had a good year. I'm not going to say he didn't have a good year. But did he have the year that's going to make NBA teams say, this is a guy I need to draft in the second round? That's the thing that worries me when I think about AJ Storr. So I kind of just want to get your opinion on AJ Storr. Do you believe that he is NBA ready, or does he need another year of college?
Well, yeah, and I'm just thinking back to Johnny Davis, kind of like what you were saying. And Johnny Davis was first team all conference. Was he all American? I think he was all American. I can't remember. And he went in the first round, but you look at when he got to the NBA playing for the Wizards, we kind of don't really know a whole lot about him anymore. He's not making rumbles in the NBA like probably the Wizards thought he would. And now AJ Storr didn't even get first team all conference for the Badgers there. And so it makes you wonder, maybe he's leaving a little bit too early. And if he isn't leaving a little bit too early, he still said he's going to remain or keep his college eligibility. So does that mean is he coming back to the Badgers? There's another question for you, Trage. I don't really know. I don't know if he's coming back to the Badgers.
Nobody knows.
Yeah, nobody knows. He's kind of, and I don't blame him. I don't blame him if he does or doesn't. We only know if we get a new coach or if Gard's going to be the new coach or stay the coach. I don't know. The men's basketball program, we've been all right. We've been pretty good. We've won a couple of college or Big Ten championships here and there. But I saw something that we haven't made to the Sweet 16 since one of Gard's first or second years, and that's when we had all of Bo Ryan's guys still. And ever since that, I feel like we've talked about this plenty of times. Ever since then, we've barely we've been looking like Kentucky out there, Trage. Kentucky is 1-5 in their past 6 seasons or something like that, and we're basically looking like that. We didn't even make the tournament last year, and so it does make you question. First off, who's going to replace Gard? I don't think Gard's coming back, and after that JMU loss, I think it kind of solidified. If we would have won against Illinois in the conference championship and played good against JMU and won, then I've been like, okay, I can see them sticking with Gard, but I think his reign is over. And with AJ Storr, I don't think he should be going to the NBA. personally. I think he should probably come back for one more year. And if it's not to the Badgers, it's going to suck because he was kind of the highlight of the Badgers. We had a lot of good players last year, but it was pretty clear that he made a lot of explosive plays. And when he was on, he was on. When he was off, he was probably a little 2K takeover, but missing
Yeah.
his shots a little bit there. So definitely some pros and cons, but definitely a really good player that we've got out of the transfer portal that would suck to not be there next year if he doesn't end up going to the NBA. And then what's the other guys? Connor Season. I mean, we didn't use him. I can't blame him for leaving. We never used him. He went from how many points? He went like from 12 points per game or something last year to 1 or something like that. It was bad this year. But guard did not play them. And I don't know if that was something in the locker room with work ethic or something. But you can't blame the kid for wanting to transfer when he's not going to play here when he played so much last year. Because AJ Starr coming in did not change a whole lot. Like Connor Season definitely could have got some minutes over some of other guys or whatever if something was happening. Like he didn't even get a chance against JMU. I'm sure you probably talked about this, but he didn't even get a chance against JMU. Like at that point, just try anything.
Yep.
Put out Isaac Guard out there. Screw it. I mean, who cares? But no, he's gone. If he goes to Michigan, heck, Michigan probably needs him, but they beat Wisconsin, so can't really talk crap about Michigan. And then Luke Hurdle, he's probably going to Valpo or Illinois State or something like lower
Valpo
D1.
seems to get a lot of the former Badgers coming through there.
Yeah, but I know Jordan Davis is in Illinois State, so I wouldn't be surprised if he goes there. Valpo, something smaller. So overall, hopefully this is the end of people transferring, and we can move on from guard as a program and kind of look towards the future. I think that's what we kind of need. And then if guard's leaving, does it change the minds of some recruits that might be coming in? That's another question, but hopefully not.
I think so. I the biggest thing with that's the only thing with guard leaving is that what does that say to, how does Chucky Hepburn feel about that? How does Stephen Crowell feel about that? So is it going to cause a complete locker room turnover? And is it going to be a couple years? You have a recruiting class right now with two pretty high end, not high end, right? But 4-star recruit Daniel Freitag. And then you also have, I think he's a 3-star, and Jack Robinson coming in. Do those guys change their mind? You also have Joe Krabanoff. He's up for the job at Southern Illinois right now. And, I mean, Krabanoff, he recruited Freitag. Like, he was the main guy in on Freitag. He was the main guy in on Gus Bus. Gus yelled in there. And Chucky Hepburn and Nolan Winter, Johnny Davis, Crowell, Tyler Wall. Like, Joe Krabanoff's been the recruiter for the Badgers. So how do recruits and players feel if Joe Krabanoff walks out the door? I mean, there's a lot of turnover right now with the Badgers, and I don't know if he gets fired, right? I saw a question out there, and it really sparked my interest because it seemed like it was wrote by a person who really likes Greg Gard, but it's fine. I mean, you can write the article if you like Greg Gard. What it said is that you have a guy who has 20 plus wins a year. Like, this guy's sitting around 20 wins a year, right? And he's having good regular season success. He's got 2 regular season titles, and he's got Coach of the Year, Big Ten Coach of the Year, a couple of years, right? So this guy, he's been to the Sweet 16 with Bo Ryan's guys. I talked about that yesterday there, so I can't really count that. But you look at the postseason success, it's been downhill. Now, I saw the article, and the guy whoever it was basically saying that postseason success doesn't outweigh, or your regular season success outweighs what you do in the postseason. And that's all fine and dandy, right? But at what point do you get sick of, we win 20, like, it's like the Badger football team, right? Paul Chryst could get us to 12 wins a year, every single year. But what is the biggest reason why Paul Chryst was like, the guy couldn't beat Ohio State? That was the big reason why he got to the big games. He got to the Big Ten championship game. He couldn't get over the hump every single year. Paul Chryst is gone. We can get to the Big Ten championship game, right? We did it this year. We got there. We couldn't get past Illinois, but we set ourselves up in such a bad spot, right? 2 years in a row now, we've had fall aparts after the start of the year. We started 11-2 2 years ago. We ended up faltering off. Didn't even make the tournament, right? We made the NIT. After that, this year, we were 16-4 at one point. We were number 6 in the nation. We fell off a cliff. We ended up, I believe, I can't remember what the final tally was for the Badgers on the year, but it was just above 20 wins.
I think it was 9, or I thought we had 19 wins or something, but maybe that was
22 and 14. Yeah. 22 and 14. Regular season, yes. And then they had the Big Ten tournament success, and then the 3 wins in the Big Ten tournament, and then lost in the game to James Madison. So also affected the loss total there. But you had over 20 wins, right? But it gets to the point where how many more years are we just going to make it to the tournament, right? We're going to be just on the cusp of making it, or we're going to make it and then lose in the first round. At some point, you got to get over the hump, right? So if you don't fire Greg Gard, I want to go off of your point. Austin's giving me the finger over there. He's like, I got something to tell you. I got you. One second. I want to go off your point from before. If Greg Gard does come back, this is 1 year. This is a prove-it year, right? You have Chucky coming back for his 4th year. You have Steven Crowell in his 4th year. You have Max Klesmit now in his 4th year of college now, 2nd year at Madison, right? You have guys who have been together for years now. You're going to have some good recruits coming in, right? They have to add in the transfer portal after this year. You lost Tyler Wall. You've lost probably AJ Storr and Connor Essegian. You got to add pieces in the transfer portal because that's where it's at nowadays. You have to be able to add pieces in the transfer portal. So say you bring back this really good roster, right? A lot of experience, a lot of good scoring. Say AJ Storr even comes back. Greg Gard has to get them out of the first weekend. Plain and simple. He has to get them. I don't care if you win the Big Ten regular season title. I don't care if you win the Big Ten tournament. What I care about is if you get into the big dance, we want to see them win the Big Ten championship, right? But I want to see the Badgers out of the first weekend. That's the one thing Greg Gard hasn't been able to do with his recruits is get them out of the first weekend. So I believe if you bring them back next year, it's a very short leash. It is a very short leash on Greg Gard saying, you got to prove it because next year the Big Ten gets tougher, right? You have Oregon, you have USC coming in, you have UCLA coming in, you have Washington coming in. Those aren't great basketball schools, all of them, but they're still good. They're not like they're pushovers. So now the conference gets tougher. You gotta be able to compete. And if you can't compete with the big schools, then you got to move on. I think you give them 1 year. If you don't fire them, you give them 1 year and you say, this is it, dude. You're on the hot seat. You have to be on the hot seat and you have to figure something out this year.
Yeah, and if he comes back, you got to get rid of this is not what I was going to talk about, but if he comes back, you got to get rid of the not good players on the bench. First off, no disrespect, but why is your son there? I know he's not good, and we all know that. I hate when coaches be doing that just to get their son on the team. Go out there and actually get recruits. Luke Hurdle, my buddy played against him in high school, and he says, yeah, he was good, but their team in high school was really good, so that made Luke Hurdle look really good. But he never played. We need to go out there and get some good recruits, even if they're going to be on the bench. But what I was going to say is, if that person thinks that postseason doesn't matter, look at NC State. Look at NC State right now, because I think their head coach had some in his contract saying that if he wins the conference tournament, that he got a 2-year extension onto his contract there. Well, lo and behold, Buddy wins defines all odds because they had to go through a gauntlet. They had to beat, I'm pretty sure, Duke and North Carolina. I'm pretty sure. I can't remember who they all beat.
Yeah, they did beat Duke and North Carolina. Yep, and Virginia before that.
Virginia before that.
They aren't high on Virginia, but still, good win.
And so, definitely not easy. And now you look how, they're doing now. Postseason definitely matters. Some even more than regular season. Yes, you need the regular season wins to get into the postseason, but once you get into the postseason, anything's possible. Anything's possible. You look at some FAU last year. No one even knew who they were during the regular season. They get to the postseason. They got to a Final Four before Wisconsin could with Greg Gard. So that's just, I don't know what that person's thinking if he doesn't think regular season wins are better than postseason wins, because I've been a Wisconsin Badger fan long enough, and I felt way better when we were making the Final Four than when we were beating up on NDSU or whatever in some random game, or when Frank Kaminsky beat up on North Texas. I don't even know what the team was, but they like those games. I don't know. I don't know why he would make. I don't know why that person would make a comment like that. But.
No, I mean, I completely agree. And it's not like we're saying the Badgers have to make the Final Four every year. That's unrealistic, right? And it's unrealistic to even say Elite Eight every single year. What we're saying is that this Badger team gets to the postseason, and 9 times out of 10, they don't even put up a fight. Like that JMU game was bad. That was downright bad. And then you look at an Oregon
16,
game of
17 turnovers?
19.
19 turnovers. You see what JMU was able to do to Duke, or you see what Duke was able to do to JMU the next game.
Yep.
Not Jack
JMU
squat.
did. I mean, people were so high up on JMU. They weren't, like I said in my, after that game, I said JMU wasn't that good. Like, I mean, we saw what they did against Duke. Duke's not that good of a team. Like, everybody's like so high up, like, oh, Duke's this good, blah, blah, blah. No, they're not. They're not that good of a team. If Duke was that good, they wouldn't be sitting there on the 4 line right now with a lot of bad losses on that schedule. I mean, Duke is not as great as what people think Duke is. And yet they were able to rout JMU, but they only had 6 turnovers. Badgers turned the basketball over 19 times, and also off those turnovers, 20-plus points. That's what happens when you get into dogfights like that and you can't figure it out. And a lot of unprepared players going into that one. So, I mean, yeah, 100%. And like I was saying there, I mean, you look at the Badgers, you're not saying Final Four. I'm not expecting Greg Gard to go to a national championship next year. Would it be fantastic? Yeah, 100%. But I'm not saying national championship. I'm not saying Final Four. I'm not even saying Elite Eight. What I'm saying is that if you have this experience of a roster with players that you have developed through the years, you got to be able to take them a little bit. You have to be able to make that team go into turn. If you lose a game, if that James Madison game was 99-89, like everybody was just shooting the lights out of a building, sure. Then you can lose games like that. I'm not saying you can't lose games. We've seen number 1 Purdue lose to Fairleigh Dickinson, right? We've seen some good teams go down at tournament time. What I'm saying is that how bad the Badgers played in that loss. That's what I look at over the years here. How bad the Badgers have played in losses. Now, he has had some unfortunate things, right? Chucky Hepburn got hurt before the Iowa State game. Johnny Davis, I believe, was also banged up for that game. So you had injuries going into that one. I get those. But at some point, we got to stop making excuses and you got to make something happen. You have to make something happen. We can't have the fall apart years. This Badger team at one point was destined for a 2 seed, and in the Big Ten, they were winning the Big Ten at one point. They were ahead of Purdue. That was supposed to be, when we went in that Purdue game, it was supposed to be like the battle of David and Goliath with us against Zach Edey, but it was supposed to be this showdown, right? Number 6 versus number 2 in the nation. It shows how fast that can change for the Badgers. And then it was just a downhill spiral after that, and there was no change up until really the Big Ten tournament when it all flipped around, and then it flipped back against JMU. So, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of things in Madison right now that I believe we aren't, like, we saw Sejan enter the portal. We saw AJ Storr testing the waters. I don't think we're done getting news out of the Badgers yet. I really don't.
And I'll end it on this. You look at some of the good teams. I know Kansas is out, and but North Carolina, Duke, they're still in there. The good teams that have the good coaches, they'll lose some games, but then they'll come back and win. With the Wisconsin Badgers, they lost and they kept losing. They lost to Michigan, they lost to Rutgers, they lost to. I mean, it all started with that Nebraska game, Trage, when they let Nebraska come back, weasel their way back. Down, I think it was 20. And then ever since then, it was just downhill from there. And we weren't able to recover. I think that's partially on the coach. Like, you got to, tell them, we get it. It's one loss, but you guys just got to come back. You guys are still the number 6 ranked team in the nation, and play like it. But obviously they didn't play like it. But the great teams, they're able to bounce back after those games. Wisconsin's not great. Are they good? They were good. But they struggled. They definitely struggled this year. And I don't want to say the season was a disappointment, but from where it started to where it ended, I could definitely call it a disappointment because, I mean, it's like the military trades. They break you down and then they build you up, but then they broke us back down. They kind of just left us there. They never built us back up, Trage. I'm still down there. So
pretty much.
definitely still disappointed, but like as all Wisconsin sports, there's always next year. So
I just, the biggest thing and the biggest argument I hear is that the blame on the players, right? Players didn't execute. Players didn't do this. And okay, that's fine. But is that going to be the same excuse 5 years from now with Greg Gard? Is that going to be the same excuse 10 years from now if Greg Gard's still there, right? Is it going to continuously be the excuse that the players just didn't execute, right? And some games players will not execute, right? But it can't be the same thing over and over and over again, because then that comes down to, like you said, coaching. That comes down to player development. That comes down to getting guys prepared for a game. You go into a game, you're prepared for the opponent. JMU, the Badgers didn't look prepared. They looked lost. They looked like this was the first game of the year, and they were fifth graders playing the varsity team, right? They were just all kinds of out of sorts. And it never seemed to, nothing seemed to fix it. And then the second half, they found a little bit of stride, right? They played a little bit better in the second half against James Madison, and they fought their way back into the game, but it's the hole that they dug themselves. And at one point, maybe you can blame the players for decision making, but I blame it on being unprepared for a game. And it's happened too many times over and over again. So, like I've said, either Greg Gard has to advance with the times and he has to advance his coaching style to the new way of basketball, right? Transfer portals is where it's at. Recruiting, not so much. You got to get the most experienced team out there. That's basically what it is nowadays. And Greg Gard needs to either advance with that time or fall into the past. So this Badger program needs to take a leap next year. It does. If he comes back, it needs to take a leap. Otherwise, I don't know if he makes it a full year next year. I'm going to be honest with you. If it starts to fall apart at the seams, I don't know if he makes it a full year. It's a $12 million buyout right now for his contract. I don't know if the Badgers can afford that just because they're paying Paul Chryst yet and they're paying that hockey coach yet. So it would be a struggle to pay him off too. But at some point, you just maybe have to. You have to. I don't know. It's definitely going to be interesting. But with that, I mean, anything else? Anything else you want to add here at the end?
I got nothing, Trage. Just happy to be back on. I know I'm kind of on and off. It's usually sometime in between. I'm kind of busy with spring ball just started back up, and I'm kind of loaded with classes now because I had football in the fall. So I kind of deloaded in the fall, but now I'm picking up a little bit more classes, so I can't be on as much, but I'm glad I can still come on when I can,
Heck yeah, we love to have you back. It gets a good laugh, and it gets me new insight on what the heck's going on with Wisconsin.
One of these times, me, you, and Rogan, we got to get back on the crew at some point because it might be mayhem if that happens.
I just want to hear what Rogan has to say about the Badgers. That's what I need to hear, what Rogan has to say about the Badgers, because he called me crazy mid-season when I said Greg Gard was losing it. He called me crazy. And then now we're here. Now we're here once again. So, I mean, I want to hear what Rogan's got to say sometime about the heck's going on. But, hey, with that, that's about all we got for today. We talked about a lot. We got the Brewers coming up tomorrow here, opening day of baseball. We're going to get into that tomorrow here on the show. But with that, this has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you guys back here tomorrow. But until then, deuces.
Yeah, oh my Lord, watch me sway. Darkness falls and we all pray, hoping for the light of day. Down to the river I have had